Hi, Malcolm Nance. Hi, good morning.
Oh, hi, good morning. How are you?
We have it's a show this morning, Malcolm. But can we just say I don't know what you thought, but I thought the president's speech was fantastic and on point. And I just is this a retweet? You retweeted the idea that Biden somehow screwed up the Afghanistan withdrawal is quite literally being propped up so the people who actually screwed the whole thing up can escape accountability. Utterly shameful that the media learned nothing from all of this. Thank you for. I think that you retweeted that.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. And the media feeding frenzy against the Biden White House is really something to behold. And I think I put out in another tweet that all of your listeners, if you really want to know why there's so much Sturm and Drang and angst over what's going on with the end of the Afghan war with some people, go watch the Tina Fey movie, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, which I personally think, and I've been there, I think that is the best film about the Afghan war in its entirety. And it's from the media's perspective. And many of them were heavily invested into that world. It's hard when things come to an end, but we are talking about the end of an enormous amount of suffering for American parents, enormous amount of pain for the military families in the United States. And then there are the families of the 70,000 Afghan civilians who were killed, the 40,000 Afghan army soldiers and their families who were killed. The people of Afghanistan, through their tribal leaders and the machinations of their so-called leaders who ran with the money off to other Middle Eastern countries, off to the Middle Eastern countries, the choice was clear. They chose the Taliban.
Yeah.
And for us, the war is now officially over.
I don't know about you. It gave me chills that the infrared picture of the last American soldier leaving Afghanistan, the general. I was like, thank God. Thank God we will not have another American killed in this ridiculous 20-year war.
And that general was 10 years ago. That general was a captain in special forces. Well, 12 years ago. He was a young captain in special forces. He was the squadron commander of a Delta Force troop and had served many tours in Afghanistan before he took over command of the 18th Airborne Corps, and was appropriately, the last guy to leave that country.
Yeah. And, I have to say, for all this, like, oh, we trusted the Taliban. First of all, Trump's the only one that stupidly trusted the Taliban. But I have to say, Malcolm, it doesn't mean you trust someone or your partners. But, the story came out today. I wondered how we got 124,000 people out. They helped. I mean, it was in their interest to help us get people out and get out of there. That's what they wanted too, right?
Sure. Let's put it this way with regards to the Taliban. We don't know who they are. We only know them as enemy combatants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now they are transitioning to take over a nation and rule it as a nation. Infrastructure, water, power, lights, internet,
yeah.
The camel market, the goat market, all of which, by the way, really exists. So I don't want to hear people saying I'm feeding into stereotypes again. All of the tribal liaisons, all of that's on them now. It's entirely on them and their senior leadership, who had 10 years in a prison to stew and think about it and organize all of this.
Yeah, until Donald Trump let them out.
Until Donald Trump released them all as part of the secret deal. They have to decide right now whether they're going to be the North Korea of Southwest Asia or whether they're going to become a participating country in the pantheon of states. And apparently they have decided, or we see indications that they have decided that they want to be part of the pantheon of nations. However, I want to caution you, I've been in a country in an immediate post-war environment, particularly Iraq. There are things that are going to happen that no one can control.
Yeah.
I've seen, just in my little neighborhood alone, people storming their neighbors' houses over blood violence incidents. Like one guy was a former Saddam guy who sent another person to jail and he died in jail. They stormed the man's house and killed him. Vengeance, violence, interpersonal problems, broken marriages, honor wars, those things will continue And many people will try to attribute them to the Taliban mistakenly. Believe me, the Taliban, when they use violence, you're going to know it, and the world's going to find out about it.
Well, to me, no offense, but the Taliban fighting ISIS, I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
It's like Ebola fighting, COVID. Whatever.
Let them fight.
Who cares? But anyway, we've been fighting here, one lie after another. Flat out lies. Talk about disinformation, which is your specialty, Malcolm, studying that Biden didn't go to greet the fallen. There's a guy they hung somebody from a helicopter, the Taliban.
Yeah.
They didn't bring the service dogs home. They gave them $83 billion worth of equipment. On and on. We've had to knock these things down. You retweeted someone that said, I'm old enough to remember when the former guy blamed Gold Star families for giving him COVID. And then someone else that just said, who brought our troops home? Answer, President Joe Biden, period. Mm-hmm. All of these things are lies, right? We've just had to knock down one after the other. That we gave the Taliban lists of names of Americans. No, none of that.
No, and every one of them, what is Mark Twain's old saying about a lie will travel halfway around the world before the truth gets out of bed and puts his shoes on.
Yeah.
And we've seen quite a bit of that. I personally was involved in one recently, which I won't address, but where someone lied about something that I wrote.
Yeah.
And, I was swamped with death threats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same news organization that has Laura Ingraham, she lied hours in advance, saying the president and his staff did not come to greet the bodies. That aircraft was still in the air over the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. And the president and his entire staff, the Joint Chiefs, were all there when it actually happened.
Yeah.
Same thing with the guy hanging off the helicopter. There is an entire branch of this country, up to 40% of its citizens, who want these lies. So there is an industry of liars. I had a guy just say this the other day. Malcolm Nance never set foot in Afghanistan. And then put a little caveat on it saying, while he was on active duty military. No, I had already been out of the military. But, this is the way that they do it. Yeah. They spread disinformation, and they know it will burn around the right-wing information sphere.
Yeah.
And it will become a fact.
Yeah, exactly.
Before it will ever become the reality.
Yeah, you also retweeted somebody, cable news and mainstream media, concerned about trusting the Taliban when 40% of the U.S. population literally doesn't trust its own government and places all of their trust in a lunatic fringe with a name like QAnon. As you've said in a writing in your next book, the real biggest threat in America from terrorism is domestic. And I don't know what you think about Kevin McCarthy outwardly committing obstruction of justice, threatening the telecom companies, do not hand over these phone records of members of Congress, right? Talking to Trump on January 6th. That is, if that's not obstruction, I don't know what it is. A Republican majority won't forget. That is a direct threat.
Intimidation.
Yes.
It's intimidation of these companies. And I suspect that it might work if we had a real attorney general like Glenn Kirshner, that, somebody would have been hauled in today to answer questions and to say under oath whether that was their real intent.
Madison Cawthorn, what's your take on that? How is that not inciting violence, what Madison Cawthorn said?
I just finished my manuscript of this book about the coming right-wing insurgency and their calls for civil war, and I actually have to do an epilogue to the book just to scoop up all the crazy that's been said in the last 30 days, where now we're seeing open calls for civil war. Cawthorn saying that, that people are going to take up their guns and that the Second Amendment was designed to overthrow the government. That's insane. It was designed to keep you safe from the Indians, right? And to hunt food.
Yeah.
These people have gone an order of magnitude off the charts. And we're in danger.
Yeah, did you just see what is the leaked video, Chris, of Ron Johnson admitting Trump fairly lost the election? They've turned on him like a pack of, like you tweeted about Paul Ryan saying yesterday, it's really clear Trump legitimately lost. And Joe My God tweeted, now comes the death threats and the murderous red hats, right? It's the mob booing Donald Trump himself for saying get the vaccine, booing Mo Brooks for saying let's move on from 2020. They have lost control of this mob, Malcolm, haven't they?
Well, no, the mob controls them.
Yeah.
This is all driven from the ground up. And the reason that you had people, fancying all the outright parts of the big lie was partially because they were afraid of the base threatening them, threatening their families. But it also gave them permission to be the open, bigoted, racist, homophobe, misogynist that they've always wanted to be. And the media backs this up by saying, oh, well, 40% of 40% of voters support the idea that you should genocide, other people, the other political party. So they consider that as acceptable, and they don't call it out.
Yeah.
There was I think there's a video that came from a meeting, I don't know which state it was, where one of the speakers said that they were going to have to start killing their neighbors, hanging their neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and a woman.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and a woman says, wait a minute, are you saying that, if you take vaccination, people are going to have to be hung? And he doubled down on it and said, yes. And she goes, well, that makes me feel threatened. And he goes, that's not a threat, that's a promise. Yeah. We are at a point now, it's at the street level. And now it's coming out into the open. And as they say, this what we call eliminationist rhetoric, they're being cheered for it.
Yeah.
And that means people are going to start dying.
Yeah. And Malcolm, a lot of this is, as we know, funded by Michael Flynn and God knows what. They're Proud Boys are telling people, go into these school board meetings to disrupt, go, into these, these anti-vaxxer thing. Like they're getting their claws in every level. I mean, so the Republican candidate, we mentioned him running to be a county executive in Pennsylvania, right? Threatened to have school board members physically removed if they go ahead with mask mandates. He said he claimed school boards were done, called to make men men again, and asked them to join him in forcefully ousting school boards that put mask mandates on children. He said, you go into boards to remove them. That's what you do. You don't follow the law. You go in and remove them. I mean, when you say don't follow the law, I'm going in there with 20 strong men. I'm going to give the school board an option. You can either leave or be removed. I mean, this is daily now, these calls for violence.
When he meant removed, and this is where reporting is becoming very bad, he meant they will physically go in, beat them, and throw them out of the building and take their seat. This is brown shirt talk. I have a section of my book called the Trump enforcers, the street enforcers. This is now, Proud Boy activity has now become incorporated into the average mindset of a Republican. All the Karens are like that. All the Brads who are out there who are confronting black people on the street, they not only did not learn the lesson of January 6th, because the Justice Department is not handing down severe punishments for that. So they think that they're good. Well, Madison Cawthorn called them political prisoners, and we had to break them out of jail. Well, I mean, someone's going to hear this and try it. Afghanistan is done. The internal American insurgency has been raging since November 3rd. And they prepared for it.
And by the way, going to the point of your book, your upcoming book again, it's the 6th time in the past 7 years the number of attacks rose. The number of hate crimes reported has increased by nearly 42% since 2018. Attacks targeting blacks rose, right? I mean, a huge amount. Number targeting Asians. I put that all on Donald Trump and, China virus and Kung flu and all that crap. Civil rights groups have warned of increasing hostility toward minorities and a rise in white nationalism and increase in violent crime levels nationwide. I mean, Malcolm, it does have that feeling of this, well, I drink a lot of tea, but a boiling tea kettle of racism and anti-science and anti-government, right? Like this. It's like...
Well, back to my homework assignment for your listeners to watch Whiskey Tango Foxtrot with Tina Fey. And another journalist is giving her the analogy of the boiling of the frog. And, it just, gets you raise the temperature a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And then Tina Fey rolls over, looks at him, goes, the frog dies, right? This is what we're talking about. We are being boiled slowly with this right-wing rage. And that statistic you gave, I'm going to have to add to the second edition of this book. I mean, I just cannot keep up with the crazy.
You can't write fast enough. I know.
I can't. Well, every time I write something, I have to rewrite it because there's a new level of crazy. So
I mean,
we are getting to the point where we're becoming in mortal danger. And the Taliban is no threat to us.
And we have people,
ISIS Khorasan province is no direct threat to us. These people, unfortunately, are your neighbors.
Yeah.
And they think that many Americans themselves are an obstacle to real America, are enemies of the state, and must be put down.
we have a bunch of fascists basically calling us communists. I mean, this is what Marjorie Taylor Greene says last night. She said about the telecom companies looking for phone records, which is a very common law enforcement technique, obviously, in a situation like this. She said, I think it's outrageous. This is leading us into waters we've never been in America. You see, America was never meant to be a communist country, but these are the tactics Democrats are wanting to use. She then said, if they go along with this, the telecom companies, they will be shut down. I mean,
good luck shutting down
fascism.
cellular phone companies.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do? You're gonna call them up? I mean,
right, exactly.
That's a good one. All right.
Help me, Jesus.
Mic drop.
Yes.
Mic drop for Malcolm Nance.
Yeah.
Love you, honey. See
The
you.
woman is a moron.
She really is.
Okay?
Nice.
She's not.